Hello and welcome to Technology Computer Class. Today's lesson is Engineering Design Process. How many of you ever tried building a tower of blocks? How many of you started building and it fell down? Did you try to make it taller? What did you do? And did you do anything different to improve the design? What if I told you that every time you tested and then tried to improve your design, you used something called the engineering design process? Let's do another example. Let's say we get a donation to build some new playground equipment, but we only have enough money for parts. So we decide we're going to build a teeter-totter or a seesaw. Now, how should we build this? I know. What if we start with a basketball and a piece of wood plank to make the seats? Now let's set the board on top of the basketball and call it good, right? Maybe not. What might happen with this design? Think about it. What could go wrong? What can we do to improve this? Any suggestions? Well, some ideas you might think are maybe we could sand the wood, maybe paint it, maybe replace it with metal because, wood sometimes gets splinters and you can get it on your hand, and if you're sitting on it, you're sliding a lot. That's not going to be very comfortable. Maybe we could use a cement base instead of a basketball. We are using the engineering design process all the time, and companies use this all the time. In fact, companies would be out of business if they did not use this process. We're going to watch a video a little bit more on how to do the engineering design process step by step, and then we're going to go ahead and begin our activities for today.
The engineering design process is a lot like making tacos. Here's how. Let's say you've had a long day. Maybe you've gone to class. Maybe you just got off work. Maybe you just finished an intense workout session. It's now 7 o'clock and you're hungry. But you've got friends coming over in half an hour. So, what do? You go through the engineering design process. First, you define a problem or need. In this case, the problem is you're hungry and you've got people coming over in half an hour, and they might be hungry too. Next, you do some research to figure out the design requirements and your limitations. So in this case, you'd assess things like ingredients you have at hand, money you've got to spend, how much time you have before people start showing up, how many people you have to feed, and if any of those people have dietary restrictions. Once you've got a pretty solid list of criteria and constraints, you can start brainstorming ideas for solutions. Maybe you look online at nearby food options. Then, maybe you go to the fridge and you start figuring out what you could make. You weigh your options and you determine making something at home will be cheaper and faster than ordering something online. And you decide everyone likes PB&J, but you don't have gluten-free bread.
Oh.
But you do have corn tortillas.
I guess I'll try PB&J on corn tortillas.
And you make a prototype. You test it out and take a bite. It's gross. But you want to make sure it's not just you, so you get others to test it out, like your roommates or family. Everyone agrees. It's gross. You ask questions and determine what's gross about it. In this case, your testers like the tortillas, but not so much the PB&J. So you go back to the kitchen and reassess. This is what engineers call iterating, making changes based on test and user feedback. You realize,
I've got ingredients for tacos? Dope!
So you start making some veggie tacos. You try one and think,
This is kinda dry.
You have other people try it to get their feedback. Most people agree.
It's kind of dry.
So you go back to your kitchen and start iterating again. You find that you've got the ingredients to make guacamole. You make the guac and you add it to the tacos. You test it out and you're like,
This is tasting pretty good.
but some of the other testers think,
It could use some spice.
So you evaluate their feedback, you look in your kitchen, and you realize you don't have anything spicy. That's when you call your friend Sam who's coming over. And you're like,
Hey Sam, can you bring over some hot sauce? I'm making tacos.
and Sam's like,
Sure.
also,
I love tacos.
it's now 7:30 and your friends start showing up. You tell your friends,
I made tacos if you're hungry. You can add hot sauce if you want.
and then you and your friends eat the tacos. They're like,
These are pretty good. I'm going to Instagram that.
You should share the recipe online.
so you do. You've solved your hunger problem and engineered a taco party.
Remember how I said companies use this process all the time? In fact, many companies would be out of business if they didn't use this process. For example, let's take this car company here that says, here's our first car. We haven't tested it. Would you like to buy it? Would you? Would you buy an untested car? Why not? Well, you might think, no way, I could get in an accident. I could get hurt. Well, it's not tested well. And I don't know about you, but I really don't want to be driving a car and then all of a sudden it just steers right off the road. And cars are made to have and have to meet safety standards. So they have to pass these certain crash tests and be certified by such and such companies. These are really important things for people when they go and buy vehicles. So companies will need to do this with their cars. Otherwise, they're not going to sell any other cars, or they're likely going to get into big trouble with the law if there's going to be big problems. So all of these are improved when they use the engineering design process. Today's engineering activity is called Rover Maker.
Are you ready to earn your Rover Maker badge? Rovers are vehicles we create to explore the surface of other planets. To start making your own rovers, press the green play button. If you want to revisit one of your old rovers, press Sunspot's tablet. Or to look at your badge collection, press the badge button.
Click the triangle button.
We'll start by building rovers on Earth before we head to another planet. On Earth, we'll learn how to propel a rover using gravity and motors.
Found one.
Your goal in each challenge is to create a rover that will carry Sunspot to the finish line. Your rover will start here, and if we build it right, it will end up here with me, Sydney, at the finish line. I went ahead and started this rover for you. You just need to attach Sunspot's cockpit to the rest of the rover. Tap and drag Sunspot's cockpit to move it. Move the cockpit next to the other blocks and it will snap onto the rover. When you're ready to try out your rover, press the play button and gravity will do the rest. Don't worry if your rover doesn't work. You can always press the reset button and try again.
So in these earlier levels, you're creating basically like a boxcar derby type vehicle where the gravity does take care of it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this character on, and over on the sidebar you're going to see it's pretty empty here. You've got some buttons. So these are your creations that you've made, and then you have some questions answered. Then click the green button to get started to test it.
Oh yeah!
Click the green triangle.
We made it. Each level contains a sneaky star like this that you can collect by hitting it with your rover. Sneaky stars are always in hard-to-reach places. You'll need to be a clever builder to get them all. Can you help me add wheels to this rover? Find the wheels in the toolbox on the left, tap a wheel and drag it out of the toolbox on top of the rover to attach it. Wheels can attach anywhere on top of a rover. When you've got the wheels in place, press the play button to try it out.
Right. So we've got two sets of big wheels and two sets of little wheels. And as said, you can place it literally anywhere on the cart. If you want it on here, that's fine. If you want one down here, that's just fine. But keep in mind that the only way it won't set on is if you have your wheel outside of these dotted lines. So it will not sit on these dotted lines at all. So you can put a lot on if you want. I'm going to go ahead and just test this out and see what happens.
Yippee!
And then continue.
It worked great. This rover is missing some wheels and blocks. Can you add them to complete the rover? To attach blocks to the rover, drag and snap them onto the side of other rover pieces. When you're happy with your rover, press the play button to try it out.
As you can already see, you can start adding some pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and put this box here and connect it there. And I can put my wheel down here. And I didn't use all my pieces, but this is part of the design process and I want to show you this. So click the green and test.
Yay!
Okay, so I didn't quite get that star. So what I want to do is I want to try to go ahead and get that star, and I'm going to click that retry button. And I still have the same build here, so I'm going to go ahead and add this tall piece and maybe one more just to make sure. So now let's see if I can reach that star, because the game will let you finish even if you don't get the star.
Woohoo!
And there it is.
Activities! Nice work. Sunspot made. This time, it's up to you to design a rover to carry Sunspot to the finish. You can use any of the pieces in the toolbox. If you want to review the course, press the square button here to get a tour.
Now our options are a lot bigger. You can use this little turquoise triangle down here, and you can see more options. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my main body. Add it here, stretch it out, and I have a set of wheels. And notice that there are no numbers. This means I can put as many wheels as I want, as long as they stay in the frame and they're not overlapping the wheels. So those weren't sticking because I was overlapping, but they can stick right here if I really wanted to. And I can still fit this on and give it a go.
Uh-oh, something broke. Can you figure out Yay!
Notice that it would let me continue playing, but I'm going to go ahead and try to challenge myself to be able to reach that star. Now these levels do go a lot farther, so if I click the home button here, you can see that I'm on Earth and I have 8 levels to unlock here. If you're playing on your own device, it can save in the history of it, but if you play here or try it here and you go on a different computer, the different levels, they may not be unlocked. So it just depends on which device that you're working on and you're progressing through. So if you first start on Earth, and you'll progress up to the moon, to Mars, and a couple, I think 1 or 2 other ones. And so there's just a lot. You can get rocket ships, like boosters and stuff, jetpacks. So there's some stuff to work for in this activity. So use that engineering design process and use the steps that we talked about, and you can make the best. This, depending on your teacher, this activity can last for 1 to 2 class periods, a pretty good amount, before moving on to your next activity. And with that, enjoy the process.